It was a bitterly cold evening in the city. People hurried past the glowing storefronts, clutching their bags and keeping their heads down against the wind. At the corner of a closed pharmacy, a young homeless girl, no older than 12, sat with a worn blanket around her shoulders. Her tiny arms cradled a baby no more than 6 months old. The infant's cries pierced the air, desperate and weak. The girl looked up at passers-by with wide, pleading eyes. "Please," she whispered, "my brother needs milk. Formula. Pay you back when I grow up." Most people ignored her. Some shook their heads, muttering about scams. Then, a tall man in an expensive coat stopped. His car, a sleek black luxury sedan, was parked nearby. His watch gleamed in the streetlight. The man was Alexander Grant, a billionaire known for his ruthless business deals. He studied the girl coldly at first, suspicious. "You want me to buy you baby formula?" he asked. She nodded desperately, clutching the child closer. "I don't have money now," she said, her voice breaking, "but I promise I'll pay you back one day." For reasons he couldn't explain, something in her trembling voice struck him. Instead of walking away, Alexander slowly turned toward the pharmacy's after-hours machine. Alexander entered a code and purchased several cans of formula, a pack of baby bottles, and even a small blanket from the machine. The girl's eyes widened as he handed them over. She immediately began preparing a bottle, her hands trembling with both exhaustion and relief. The baby latched on hungrily, finally quieting down. Tears slipped down the girl's cheeks. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. "I swear I'll grow up and give you back every penny." Alexander crouched down, looking at her more closely. Her clothes were torn, her shoes worn thin, was clearly living on the streets. "Where are your parents?" he asked. She looked away, gone. "It's just me and him." Alexander should have walked away. His driver was waiting, and his schedule was packed, but something rooted him there. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lila," she whispered. "And this is Noah." For the first time in years, Alexander felt a pang of something he thought he'd buried long ago, compassion. Alexander hesitated, then said, "You can't keep living like this. Do you have anywhere safe to stay?" Lila shook her head quickly. "We move around. I don't want people to take him away. He's all I have." Her small frame shook as she spoke. He exhaled sharply. This wasn't his problem, but before he knew it, the words came out. "Come with me." She looked terrified. "No, sir, I can't." "I'm not here to hurt you," he said firmly. "But that baby won't survive much longer like this. I'll give you a place to sleep tonight. Just tonight. After that, you decide." Lila hesitated, then slowly nodded. She followed him to the car, clutching Noah tightly. The driver raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Alexander sat across from her in silence as the city lights blurred past the windows. They arrived at Alexander's penthouse. Towering above the city, Lila froze at the sight of the marble floors, glass walls, and sparkling lights. She had never seen such luxury. A maid appeared, shocked to see the ragged girl. Alexander simply ordered, "Prepare a guest room." That night, for the first time in weeks, Lila and Noah slept in a warm bed. She fed him formula, tucked him into soft sheets, and then curled up on the edge of the mattress, whispering, "We're safe." Just for tonight. But Alexander didn't sleep, stood by the window, sipping his drink, wondering why he'd brought them here. He had built his empire by being cold, unfeeling. Yet one little girl's promise to pay him back when she grew up had cracked the walls around his heart. The next morning, Alexander's business partner arrived, frowning when he spotted Lila. "What is this, Alex? A charity project?" "She's just a child," Alexander said sharply. Lila, overhearing, quickly bowed her head. "Please don't be angry. We'll leave after breakfast." But when she tried to stand, Noah began coughing violently. Panic swept her face. Alexander immediately called his private doctor, who arrived within minutes. After examining Noah, the doctor shook his head. "This baby is malnourished. He needs proper care immediately." Alexander's jaw tightened. "Then he'll get it." Lila looked at him, her eyes wide with gratitude and confusion. For the first time, she began to think maybe he wasn't just helping out of pity. Maybe he cared. Over the next few days, Lila and Noah stayed. She was shy, always insisting she would repay him someday. Alexander, against his own instincts, found himself drawn to her resilience. One evening, she asked timidly, "Why are you helping us? You're rich. You don't need to waste time on me." Alexander looked away, his voice low. "Once a long time ago, I was a boy like you, hungry, homeless, desperate. Someone helped me, and I swore I'd never need anyone again. But maybe I was wrong." For the first time, Lila saw something human beneath the billionaire's armor. Just as life began to stabilize, trouble came knocking. Child Services received an anonymous tip. Someone reported that a billionaire was harboring a homeless child and infant. Lila panicked. "They'll take Noah away from me. Please don't let them." Alexander clenched his fists. He had the power, the money, the influence. But this was more than business. This was about protecting the fragile bond that had begun to form. He stood before the officials with icy authority. "This child is under my care, and until you prove otherwise, you will not take him." His lawyers backed him immediately. The officials left frustrated. The battle wasn't over. The tip came from someone Alexander knew all too well, Corinne Blake, a rival investor who had always despised him. She had caught wind of his soft spot and saw it as a weakness. To exploit, she taunted him at a charity gala. "So, the ruthless billionaire takes in strays now? How adorable. But be carefully. Emotions cost more than money." Alexander's eyes burned. He wasn't going to let Karen or anyone take Lila and Noah away. Karen pulled strings to push Child Services harder, forcing an investigation into Lila's fitness as a guardian. Court dates were scheduled. Lila trembled in fear, convinced she'd lose Noah. But Alexander stood beside her in court, presenting evidence, lawyers, and character witnesses. He even revealed his own childhood hardships, something he had never shared publicly. The judge, moved by the story and the clear bond between Lila and Noah, ruled in their favor. Lila collapsed into tears, hugging Noah tightly. "We can stay together?" she whispered. Alexander placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes." "And you're not alone anymore?" Months later, Lila blossomed. She was in school, Noah was healthy, and their lives had transformed. Alexander became more than a guardian. He became family. One night at dinner, Lila shyly placed a jar of coins on the table. "It's not much, but it's to start paying you back. I promised, remember?" Alexander laughed softly, his eyes warm for the first time in years. "Lila, you've already paid me back. You reminded me what it means to care." The camera lingers on the three of them, once strangers, now a family bound not by money, but by love. After leaving the mansion, the girl and her baby spent the night under a bridge. The rain poured, and she clutched the formula tightly, whispering promises to her child. "One day, I'll pay you back." Meanwhile, the billionaire lay awake in his luxury suite, replaying the girl's words. "I'll pay you back when I grow up." Something about her dignity haunted him more than any business deal ever had. The next morning, his butler spoke up. "Sir, that girl reminded me of your mother. She also raised you with nothing but courage." The billionaire froze, realizing he hadn't thought about his mother in years. Driven one night, the baby grew sick with fever. The girl panicked, rushing to the hospital, but was turned away for not having money or insurance. She sobbed, holding her child, begging for help, by fate. The billionaire's chauffeur passed the hospital and spotted her outside. He immediately called his boss, and within minutes, the billionaire himself arrived. He rushed the baby into the hospital under his name, paying all expenses up front. Doctors swarmed, and the girl collapsed in relief, whispering, "Thank you, God." While waiting, the billionaire gently asked about her life. She revealed her past parents lost in an accident, foster homes, escaping abuse, and finally ending up on the streets with her baby. He listened, silent but shaken. The next day, the billionaire skipped a major business meeting just to sit by the baby's hospital bed. His board of directors was furious, but he didn't care. Something more important had entered his life. The next day, the billionaire skipped a major business meeting just to sit by the baby's hospital bed. His board of directors was furious, but he didn't care. Something more important had entered his life. When the baby recovered, the billionaire offered her a place to stay. She refused again, saying, "If I accept, people will think I'm using you. I want to stand on my own." He didn't push, but he quietly arranged for the diner owner to give her extra hours and better pay. The girl never knew he was behind it. That night, the billionaire wrote a letter to his late mother, confessing how the girl had reminded him of her strength. Tears stained the paper, something he hadn't felt in decades. Soon, the community began noticing the girl's determination. Other homeless women approached her for advice. She became a quiet inspiration, proving dignity could survive, even in poverty. The board threatened to remove the billionaire as CEO, accusing him of being distracted by a street girl. He stared them down and said, "If kindness is a distraction, then maybe I shouldn't be CEO." The billionaire anonymously paid for her to attend night school. She hesitated at first, but with her baby sleeping beside her, she studied hard, determined to rise. On her birthday, the diner staff surprised her with a small cake. She cried, whispering, "No one celebrated me in years." Little did she know, the billionaire had arranged it quietly. The baby took his first steps in the park. The billionaire happened to be there, watching from a distance. For a moment, he felt like family. One night he approached her again. Instead of offering charity, he said, "I want you to help me build a foundation for mothers like you, not as a recipient, but as my partner." She hesitated. "Just a homeless girl. What do I know about running anything?" He smiled. "You know more than any of my board members. You know survival." With trembling hands, she stood before a small crowd at the foundation launch. She spoke about dignity, courage, and hope. The room erupted in applause and the billionaire's eyes glistened. News outlets picked up the story. Homeless mother partners with billionaire to help others. Cameras flashed, but the girl remained humble. "I'm still paying him back," she said softly. Her past wasn't gone. A cruel foster parent resurfaced, demanding money. She panicked, but the billionaire stepped in, ensuring they could never harm her again. One stormy evening, the power went out in the diner. The billionaire personally drove down with blankets, food, and supplies. She looked at him in awe. "Why are you always here when I need you?" he replied. "Because someone should have been there for me too." The city mayor awarded them, both for their work helping struggling mothers. Cameras caught the billionaire's smiling, genuinely look people hadn't seen on him in years. Finally, the billionaire handed her keys. Not to a mansion, but to a modest, safe apartment. "This isn't charity. It's your headquarters," he said. She accepted with tears. One day, the baby toddled over to the billionaire and called him Papa. The girl froze, embarrassed. But instead of correcting him, the billionaire picked the child up and whispered, "I'll take that honor." His employees noticed the difference. He laughed more, treated staff kindly, even cut his own salary to fund the foundation. The girl's influence had reshaped him entirely. Years later, after finishing school, she handed him an envelope with money she had saved. "For the formula," she said with a smile. He laughed, tears in his eyes. "That was the best investment I ever made." The story ended where it began, outside the mansion gates. Only this time, the girl arrived not as a beggar, but as the co-founder of a foundation changing lives. She looked at the billionaire and whispered, "Thank you for believing me when no one else would." And he replied, "No, thank you for teaching me how to live again." The foundation expanded to multiple cities, helping thousands of single mothers. The girl often spoke at events, but she always kept her humility, reminding everyone of her own journey. The little boy, now older, walked nervously into school. The billionaire insisted on driving him himself. "You're braver than I ever was," he whispered. Watching the boy wave, goodbye tabloids began spreading rumors. Is the billionaire the father of the homeless girl's child? She felt humiliated, but he stood by her, saying, "People will always talk. Ignore them. You know." The truth? Tabloids began spreading rumors. Is the billionaire the father of the homeless girl's child? She felt humiliated, but he stood by her, saying, "People will always talk. Ignore them. We know the truth." One journalist who had mocked her before later apologized after visiting one of the foundation's shelters. He wrote a glowing piece, titled "The Courage of a Mother." It went viral. The billionaire started mentoring her in business. She studied investments, fundraising, and management. "I may not be rich in money," she joked, "but I'm rich in survival skills." He laughed, admiring her sharp mind. One winter, the billionaire fell gravely ill. For weeks, he couldn't attend meetings. She visited daily, cooking him homemade soup, whispering, "Now it's my turn to take care of you." During his illness, he confessed his biggest regret, living life for money instead of meaning. The girl held his hand. "Maybe that's why God sent me to remind you it's never too late." The boy made a wish at school. "I want my mommy and papa to always be happy." The billionaire overheard and silently wiped away a tear. To honor the billionaire while he was alive, she announced a new initiative, the Hope Project, dedicated to struggling children. The billionaire broke down, saying, "You gave me more honor than all my wealth." The board once again tried to oust him, accusing him of wasting money on charity. But this time, the girl stood beside him, delivering a fiery speech that silenced them. Some of the billionaire's old friends who had abandoned him now wanted to reconnect. He turned them away, realizing true loyalty wasn't bought, it was given freely. Like the girls at a school competition, the boy won a prize for writing an essay titled, "My Hero is My Mom." The entire room applauded, and the billionaire couldn't stop clapping with pride. With her savings and foundation earnings, she bought her first small home. She invited the billionaire to cut the ribbon. "You once gave me shelter," she said. "Now I can give shelter to my son." For the first time in her life, she traveled abroad with her son and the billionaire to attend a global summit on poverty. She stood on stage, speaking to world leaders, her voice strong and steady, back home. The nation's president honored her and the billionaire for their foundation's achievements. Cameras captured the moment she bowed her head humbly while the billionaire whispered, "You deserve this more than I do." On the anniversary of her parents' death, she broke down. The billionaire and her son lit candles with her, saying, "You are never alone anymore." One evening, the billionaire said, "I may never marry again, but if you'll allow me, I'd like to adopt your son as my heir." She cried, saying, "He already sees you as a father." Years passed and the boy graduated with honors, standing. On stage, he thanked both his mother and the billionaire, two people who turned my life into a miracle. As the billionaire grew older, he gave one last lesson. Wealth is not counted in dollars. It's counted in lives you change. The girl and her son promised to carry his legacy forward. The billionaire passed peacefully years later. But his name and the girl's foundation continued to shine. The once homeless girl became a national icon of resilience. And her son carried forward both her courage and the billionaire's wisdom. After the billionaire's passing, the girl promised to continue his dream. Foundation was renamed the Hope and Honor Foundation, symbolizing both of them. Reporters tried to twist the narrative, saying she only benefited from his fortune. She addressed them calmly. "I was rich long before money came rich in love and lessons." Late at night, she read her old journal entries from when she was homeless. Tears stained the pages, but she smiled. "Look how far we've come, son." The boy, now a young man, worked at the foundation not as the heir, but as a volunteer. He wanted to earn respect, not inherit it. One of the businessman's former rivals resurfaced, trying to discredit the foundation. But the girl handled him firmly, using the legal skills she had learned. Despite his success, the young man felt pressure living under the billionaire's legacy. He confessed to his mother, "What if I'm not as great as him?" She reassured him, "You only need to be you." The foundation expanded internationally, building schools and shelters. The girl gave her first speech at the United Nations, representing hope for forgotten children. The young man fell in love with a humble teacher. His mother supported it, smiling, "You've chosen someone with heart, not just beauty. That's true wealth." The young man was offered a shady business deal that could bring millions. He refused, remembering both his mother's struggles. And the billionaire's lessons? On the billionaire's 10th death anniversary, they unveiled a statue in his honor. The mother whispered at the statue's feet, "You live on in us." The girl discovered a sealed letter the billionaire had left. Her, in it, he wrote, "I always considered you my daughter. Thank you for giving me family again." It's there. The girl became a grandmother, holding the baby and whispering, "Your future will never know the hunger I once knew." Global recession struck, threatening to shut down their foundation. The son and his wife worked tirelessly, and the girl reminded them, "We survived worse. We'll survive this." At an international conference, the young man delivered a speech echoing his mother's words. Wealth is not about ownership, it's about responsibility. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. The girl finally tracked down a surviving relative she thought was gone forever. They reconciled, and she felt a missing piece of her heart heal. The family was invited to receive a global humanitarian award. Standing on stage, the mother whispered to herself, "From the streets to the stars." A board member tried to embezzle money from the foundation. The son exposed him, proving he had truly inherited both his mother's courage and the billionaire's sharpness. The teacher-turned-wife launched an education program within the foundation, ensuring every poor child had access to books and teachers. The little granddaughter asked, "Grandma, were you really poor once?" The girl took her to the old streets where she once begged, teaching her never to forget humility. The girl, now older, collapsed during a speech. The family rushed her to the hospital. Son begged, "Don't leave me, Mom. You're my compass." She recovered slowly, but used the moment to remind her family, life is fragile. What matters is what you leave behind. The young man published a book about his mother's journey titled From Streets to Strength. It became a bestseller worldwide. During an interview, the mother openly spoke about her homelessness, shame, and struggles. Millions watched. Many homeless people wrote letters saying she gave them hope. They opened their 50th branch worldwide. The son cut the ribbon, and the girl looked on proudly. Knowing she had planted the first seed with just one baby formula, the government gave her the title, Mother of the Nation, for her humanitarian work. She wept, saying, "I was once invisible. Now I represent millions." Alone, she visited the billionaire's grave. Kneeling, she whispered, "We did it. Your faith in me was not wasted." Her granddaughter announced she wanted to be a doctor, so no one's baby goes hungry or sick again. The legacy continued to grow stronger. In her old age, the girl sat surrounded by her family. She smiled, saying, "I came from nothing, but with love and courage, we built everything that matters." When she finally passed peacefully, her son carried forward her words at her memorial. She asked for milk once, but gave the world hope forever. Her name became eternal, her story immortal. By guilt and curiosity, he sent his men out to find the girl. For days, they scoured the streets, showing her photo to soup kitchens and shelters. But she seemed to vanish. The girl, desperate, found a small job cleaning at a diner. She earned just enough for bread and milk, but never touched the formula the billionaire gave her. It was too precious.